What is good, YouTube? This is your boy Aaron.
It's Brian.
This is the Courtside podcast, and we are back and we are reacting to game one of the NBA Finals. Oh boy. Oh boy, we got a lot to discuss, man. Cause it was one of those games where after you watched it, you just thinking to yourself, like, what did I actually just watch? Like, for me personally, I just went blank. I'm like, what just actually happened? Because everything that you know about basketball, you would think OKC got this in the bag. But then they didn't have it in the bag. And the Pacers were able to climb back and eventually steal that game. And I was just perplexed. I was like, how do you let this happen? So I went back, I watched the game over, and I have some notes that I had from that game. Number one, matter of fact, let me share my screen real quick because I feel like it'll get a better sense of what exactly happened and why the Pacers were able to climb back in this game. So let me look at the team stats real quick. So when we look at the team stats, you see that number one, the disparity when it comes to 3-point shooting, the Pacers, the best in the playoffs at 3-point shooting by a mile. I think they're like at 40%, while OKC is at the bottom at I think 33.7%. So with the 3-point disparity, it's always going to be in the Pacers' favor. And they made 18 threes on 39 attempts. That is just at 46%. I mean, for crying out loud, that is a great efficiency. While with OKC, they made 11 on 30 attempts. 36% is good, but when you only make 11 3-pointers and then your opponent makes 18 shooting 46%, I mean, that's going to be the Pacers' biggest weapon. And they shot 47% from the field. Another thing is the free throw disparity. Yes, OKC had more free throws, but it wasn't by a mile. It was only a 3 by 3 free throws. So Indiana had 21, and in the third and the fourth quarter, Indiana was able to get to the free throw line, stop the clock. That's the thing, stopping the clock, and that's what helped them a lot. Rebounding. I thought OKC was going to dominate the boards. That was not the case this game. 56 rebounds, Indiana, to 39. And in the third and the fourth quarters, Indiana was able to get a bunch of offensive rebounds that resulted in fouls from the Thunder, which got the Pacers in the bonus a lot quicker. And then we have the turnovers, 25-7, assist by Indiana, 24-13. And I think the biggest stat, points conceded off of turnovers, fast break points. As you can see, although Indiana committed 25 turnovers, which is a lot, I think they committed 19 turnovers in the first half. They only conceded 11 points because most of the turnovers were dead ball turnovers, which means that, okay, offensive foul, the ball stops. You have to wait for the next possession to occur. This was most of the turnovers. And then when you look at the fast break points, they weren't getting a whole lot of fast break points. They only got 11. So because of that, and because of OKC's inability to chuck up enough threes, Indiana was able to stay in the game. So that's just how I look at it. What was your thoughts about the game?
So first half watching the game, I said, man, this OKC defense is phenomenal. And they were getting after it. It was causing turnovers. People was missing shots. But then I was like, this game is too close for my liking. I didn't like it was only like a 12-point game at half. I was very concerned. I said, like, this game should be a blowout. Like, OKC should be really washing these dudes by 25 plus because they weren't the Pacers weren't playing good basketball, honestly. And but the Thunder, they was missing shots.
Yep.
Shea was pretty much the only semblance of offense they had out there for the most part. You know, Isaiah Joe hit some clutch shots, and but obviously it didn't matter in the grand scheme. And it was like, man, J-Dub, I ain't see him do much of anything out there. Chet was a ghost pretty much. I was like, what is Chet doing? It turns out, he had 6 points. That's unacceptable from your third option, third option. So then third quarter rolls around. I'm like, okay, they keeping pace, but then I'm seeing Indiana inch back. But every time they would inch, it would be like a rubber band. So they get kind of close, and then it'd be a 10-point game again. They cut it down about 6, 7, 10-point game again. And I'm like, this is very unnerving. If I'm an OKC fan, I'm very concerned. And lo and behold, fourth quarter rolls around. Then that lead, it gets to 6, gets to 4, then it gets to 1. And then the Halliburton comes and hits the game winner. So I was like, man, you cannot let these Pacer dudes stay within 15 in the fourth quarter at this point, because they are going to find a way. And one thing I salute the Pacers on, and Rick Carlisle, they do not quit. No, a lot of teams, they be down 15 with like 5 minutes left or something like that. They're like, okay, we'll get them next game. Like, no, we're gonna stay in and we're gonna cut this lead down. And we're going to activate the magnet ball. And it's just ridiculous how many, because everyone on the Pacers weren't having great games. Like, it was a lot of games were pretty pedestrian. Then lo and behold, fourth quarter rolls around. Aaron Nesmith comes out of nowhere, hitting step back threes over Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Miles Turner Obi Toppin starts lighting it up from the 3-point line. I'm like, okay, I don't know what kind of magic they got going on in Indiana. They doing in the locker room with pregame. They must be doing the LeBron pregame Baphomet chest release or something, because this is ridiculous. They've been doing this the entire playoffs.
Yep.
And and listen, I would be concerned. Like, if I'm an OKC fan, I'm kind of concerned, but I'm not like pressing the panic button.
1 point loss, only 1 point loss.
And be fair, when you pulled up them stats, I saw OKC, they shot 98 shots. They put up 98 shots, only hit 36. So a lot of those rebounds the Pacers were getting, they was just bricks. Like, for real, like you how you shoot 39% from the field as a team, like that's not good. You got it. This has been a consistent problem with OKC these playoffs. Some games the role players show up and everyone's hitting shots. The next game, they're nowhere to be found. And you cannot have them type of games against a team like the Pacers, because they're gonna run you.
Yeah, good point. I got something I want to show you real quick. Just it's funny. So clutch time. Indiana is by far the clutchest team in the playoffs, 8-1. So the criteria to meet this is under 5 minutes. The lead is, it's between 5 points, and Indiana is 8-1 in that scenario. OKC is number 5 at 5-3. Obviously, when you make it to the finals, you're going to be you're at the top of the list, but Indiana is 8-1. So that just lets you know that in my video that I made, I brought this up in the fact that Indiana, they know how to produce in the clutch. They know how to produce when the game is on the line and it's a close game. So that's going to be in their favor. And obviously the 3-point shooting is going to be in their favor. I was watching and I was really paying attention when it comes to OKC, things that they can do going forward. Pacers were trying really hard to hide Halliburton when they were hedging, the way that they hedged, the way that they double teamed, the way that they trapped Shea on certain pick and roll coverages. If you notice during the game, there was times where when they would do that, it would be an open shot 3 at the wing, open shot 3 in the corner. So I'm curious in game 2 how OKC adjust, because if I'm OKC, I'm trying my best to put Halliburton in action for game 2. You want to really try to attack Halliburton. Halliburton played tremendously defensively. Besides a couple of giveaways to Case and Wallace on those cuts, he was pretty good defensively. I'm trying my best game 2 if I'm OKC, especially Shea and Jalen Williams, of attacking attacking Tyrese Halliburton in the pick and roll if I can. If he tries to hedge a certain way, okay, that'll leave somebody open. But we have to figure out a way to run our offense through Halliburton, because you can attack him defensively, but you just have to be disciplined enough and understand different coverages. And I feel like they'll look at the film, and come Sunday, they'll make that adjustment, because it was there, but I guess they just didn't attack it enough. And then also, as I was watching the game, I was thinking in my mind, I was like, okay, he's scoring, he's getting it going, but those shots, I felt like, are not going to kill the Pacers, because it's a lot of mid-range shots, a lot of layups. So I'm thinking, yeah, he's making the shots on a bunch of attempts, but that's not ultimately going to kill the Pacers at the end of the day. So when they had Nembhard, when they had Naismith, when they had Thomas Bryant switching on him, when they had all these different dudes, Shepherd even guarded Shea a little bit, which they need to put Shepherd on somebody else,
TJ
because he's
McConnell
food.
had some good run that game too.
Yeah. So they would have them guard Shea one-on-one a lot of times, and they would be like, just no help. Okay. And Shea, he was getting his points, but he had to get a lot of attempts up. And as we know, the flow of the offense, it wasn't going too well for them. Like, the flow of offense is because Shea, at times, he has that tunnel vision where he's just looking to score. And it seems like his thought process, he's not trying to get an open look for somebody else. It just seems like he's just trying to score. Because remember, that final play, don't get me wrong, I want my best player to, attempt the game-winning shot. But was it the greatest shot? It was one-on-one, but was it the greatest shot? I would say no, because Nembhard did a really good job of staying in front of Shea. And Shea, he had to shoot like a fall away shot in the mid-range. It wasn't the best look in the world, and he bricked it. And then afterwards, obviously, Tyrese Halliburton gets the ball, and he hits the game-winning shot at the end. I just think with Shea, he has to do a better job, just like with the Denver series, where eventually he started to realize that I need to be more of a facilitator. I need to try to get my teammates going and not just myself going. And that's how he was able to eventually pick apart the Denver defense. I think this is the same scenario. I think game 2, he'll be a lot better in his decision-making, and ultimately, especially Jalen Williams, because Jalen Williams is actually an underrated facilitator as well. Those two, they have to do a better job of just figuring out a way of getting their teammates going, especially Chet, because Chet was awful. They had to sub him out during the end of the game because he was bad. Also, I think Indiana went small to a certain extent, but he was just bad. He was just really bad offensively, and he was just a liability. They have to figure out a way to get him going, because if he's not getting going, then it's just going to disrupt a lot. Because Hartenstein, you can put him in action, and Pacers can exploit Hartenstein. Chet needs to get it going, because if he doesn't get it going, then it's going to bode badly for OKC. Let me see. There was some other notes I had from this game. Oh, Halliburton. Here we go. So the clutch shot. We got to talk about this. So I saw this on Twitter. This is from stathead.com. They are a part of Basketball Reference. So on StatHead, most game tying or lead taking shots with under 5 seconds left in the game since 1997. This is in the playoffs. Halliburton is number 3. This is ahead of Kobe. This is ahead of Paul Pierce, Tim Duncan, Lillard, all the guys that are known for making clutch shots over the year. And Halliburton is ahead of all of them. The only two guys that are ahead of Halliburton is, surprise, hey, Reggie Miller and LeBron James. People say LeBron's not clutch, 8 for 20 from the field. But man, Halliburton, one of the clutchest players in these playoffs by far. Let me ask you this question. Right now, how many players are you taking over Halliburton to have with, that you want to take the last second shot? Because Halliburton has been phenomenal in the clutch.
As of now?
Yeah, as of now.
Gosh. Nobody.
Really?
Listen, this is a historical clutch performance. Like it is absolutely ridiculous. This dude is money when the game is on the line, and you can't teach that. And as you can see from the numbers, he's done it. Now I see if he got most of that work in the first 2 rounds or something. No, he got them all throughout the playoffs, and he even got one in the finals. So I'm not taking anybody in the clutch time situation over Halliburton as of right now, because the statistics and the eyes show you that this man is just built. He's built for the moment, and it's crazy how he even gets them shots off with that funky jump shot he got. So, hey man, I don't know. This dude's just like the embodiment of clutch.
And
so I'm not taking anybody.
By the way, when you let me show you this. Let me show you the stat again.
I remember the list. I see Trae Young down there 3 for 3.
Yeah, let me show you. By the way, look at how many career games he's played. He's only played 32 career games in the playoffs, and he is 5 for 6. He has 5 game-winning, game tying or leading shots in under 5 seconds. All these other guys, besides Trae Young, have played an enormous amount of playoff games, and Halliburton is top 3 already. So that just lets you know this is his second year in the playoffs. Like, that just lets you know the sample size is very small, but he's still above all those dudes. And he's only done it on 6 attempts, but he has 5 game-winning shots. That's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous amount of efficiency with only 32 games played. Yeah, man. I don't know that. How many guys would I take over Halliburton? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say at this moment who I will want to take a game-winning shot over Halliburton, because that's how good he's been against the Knicks, against the Thunder, against the Cavs.
Would you take Luka?
Man, I don't know. Right now, I don't know. It's, because he's such a great decision maker. Halliburton is such an amazing decision maker. Like, he doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. This game, obviously, he did in the first half, but for the most part, he is not turnover prone. He is very just fundamentally sound. He's clean in his decision making. He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. He's a phenomenal passer, and he's a great shooter. He can shoot from any range. So right now it's hard to say I would want anybody else to take the last second shot, even Luka at this point, because his decision making and his ability to get his shot off that quickly at his size too. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6". It's not like he's a short point guard. Like, he's pretty tall for a point guard. So I like Halliburton, man. I really do. He's quick. He's quick too. Like, he's not very slow in his movement. Like, he's very fluid. He's very shifty, so he can get that shot off whenever he wants to. I remember when Chet was guarding him, although he didn't make the shot, he was able to get his shot off. He was able to create space to get his shot off. So it's not like he can't create for himself. Like, he's done it in the past, especially against guys that are athletic and long like Chet is. So yeah, man. What else? What else? What other notes I have from this game? Give me have something else. Let's see. Um Pacers bigot. Okay, so so finally, Pacers biggest advantage. So I said this in my previous video that I thought everything that the Pacers do well, it seems like OKC has a counter when it comes to the Pacers are the best in transition defense, but then OKC is also a great transition defense. Pacers are the best in transition offense. OKC is also great at transition offense. Pacers are top 5 in turnovers, which means that they don't commit a whole lot of turnovers, but OKC is number 1 in not committing turnovers. So it seems like every single statistic that you look at, OKC is also great as well. So I was thinking to myself, like, man, like how is the Pacers gonna? But then as time went on, as we watched the game, we realized, oh, I mean, yeah, like OKC is this, but Pacers are also that. So some of the advantages that OKC have had against all the teams in the playoffs is not going to be the case against the Pacers. Transition offense, points off of turnovers. A lot of these easy points that OKC generates are not going to be there against the Pacers. So because that's the case, and because the Pacers are a great offense, as we know, and they're a great shooting team from the 3-point line, they have that edge. They have that edge, and it's going to be very difficult for OKC to just generate points when you don't have that at your favor. So that's the thing. That's the thing I wanted to bring up. You have any thoughts on that at all?
Um, so you're pretty much saying that their advantage is they can make 3-pointers.
Yeah, and I also say that with OKC, because they're playing teams that they can exploit their transition defense, their poor transition
Okay.
defense, and also when they turn them over, they can get points off of turnovers pretty easily. That's not the case anymore with the Pacers, because the Pacers are also a great transition defense. So
Okay.
now it's going to be a lot harder for them to generate points against the Pacers.
Okay. Uh, yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, what I noticed and what I think the Thunder need to do next game. I know we Shea MVP and all that stuff, but like it's kind of piggybacking off your point earlier. The coach has to make it a point to get the other guys involved early, because you let Shea go off, he'll have 20 in the first quarter, but no one else is really getting many shots up. They're not really getting in the rhythm. And then by the time the game gets down to the wire, they can't hit any shots because they haven't had an opportunity to get some shots or get some rhythm or momentum going, because Shea was pretty much playing Shea ball in the first half. So they need to make it an point of emphasis to get guys involved early, even if they don't make all their shots. You just got to at least give them that rhythm and that confidence. Like, hey, if it's late in the game, maybe one of these will fall. Like, that's what I noticed a lot of times. Like, I'm like, what? Why does the guys falter? The role players at OKC falter in these moments. I'm like, oh, because Shea be having 23 points in the first half, and they haven't got the chance to get in the rhythm. And it's not like Shea is shooting like KD. No, he's not shooting like 8 for 12. No, he's shooting like 18 shots because he's getting a lot of his work from mid range. So that's a lot of points, a lot of shots being put up. As you see, they had almost 100 shots as a team. How many did Shea account for in that one?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I'm saying, they got to get involved early. I ain't saying it freeze out Shea. I'm saying we need to make it an emphasis, like you said, play make, get the penetrate, drive and kick, something like that. I mean, because it's ridiculous. You got to get Chet involved. I don't think Miles Turner's going to can guard Chet, in my opinion, but you got to get him involved. Chet didn't have a good game last game, I'll admit, but you got to get these guys involved. give him some confidence, give him some rhythm.
If you remember, what was one of Jalen Brunson's criticisms? He's too much of a ball hog at times, and the other guys they're not getting touches. So that plays in Indiana's favor when Shea does the same thing. Because remember, the first quarter, Shea was ultra aggressive. I think he attempted 11 shots in the first quarter. He was very aggressive, and that's great. He was getting it going, but what about everybody else? I understand Lou Dort. He was making shots. Lou Dort, I was like, oh my God, this game is, if he's making shots like this, it's over. But fourth quarter rolls around and guys aren't clicking. Jalen Williams is not getting it going offensively and not facilitating like we've normally seen him in the past. It becomes a problem. And Indiana was able to take advantage of that. And they ultimately were able to climb back. By the way, Nembhard, that shot Nembhard made on Shea, bro. The most glazed shot I've heard for the past day and a half. People are just going crazy over the shot. And don't get me wrong, when I saw Nembhard do that NBA 2K size up on Shea, I was going crazy. I was like, what? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way.
What? Yeah, because he was looking like James Harden out there. But that first of all, that was a big shot. I think that part of it was during the time of the game. It was in the fourth quarter. It was like under 5 minutes. And the fact that he pulled out that size up at that moment against Shea Gilgeous, very bold. But yeah, man. Salute to Indiana. I was happy that they won. I'm rooting for a great series. That's what I'm rooting for.
I'm not. I'm rooting for OKC. Screw the Pacers.
No, I'm rooting for a great series. I'm not rooting for any team to win. I don't care. I'm okay. All right. Well, for me personally, I just want a great series. I don't care who wins at the end of the day because I feel like whoever wins, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter who wins. I don't think there's really a villain in this. You could look at it that way. I don't think it's really a villain in this. I think that's why the NBA is having a hard time promoting this series because they can't go off of narratives, and we'll get into the ratings thing a little bit later.
The fans promoting the series better than the daggone NBA.
Diehard fans, not them casuals. But anywho, so real quick predictions for Game 2. Do you think OKC gets the nod Game 2?
I think OKC wins by double digits this game. I literally just think it's going to be one of them games. I literally think that OKC is just going to click for them, and then it'll be 1-1 going back to Indiana, and that Game 3 is going to matter a lot. That Game 3 can low-key not decide the series, but give you a good, like, okay, this is what it's going to be like. Because, in my opinion, even if Indiana won Game 3 and they up 2-1, I don't think the sky's falling for OKC. If you can get a split on the road and go back to home for your because it's 2-2, 1-1-1, right?
No, so, yeah, it's the same. It's the same format as always. Yeah,
it used to be two.
It used to be two home games, and then it'd be like 3 away games.
2-3. It was 2-3, 1-1.
Yeah.
So
I remember that was a long time ago. That was they don't do that no more. Thank God they don't do that no more.
Yeah, that was crazy. You got to play 3 games on the road. Yeah, but I think OKC wins double digit. I think the shots will start falling. I don't think it's going to be anything the Pacers I don't think they're going to like stifle the Pacers or anything. I just think the shots that they missed last game they'll just hit.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do not believe they will force as many turnovers because let's be honest, that first game the refs was letting them hack a little bit. They was letting Caruso in them hack, and as you see down the stretch, they started calling the fouls on OKC for all that hacking they was doing, and the Pacers was able to get into a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think there's going to be one of those games where everyone's firing on all cylinders for OKC. One, because they have to, and two, that's just how they operate. Like they got whooped up on that one game against the Denver Nuggets, and it came back and won by like 40. So I just think it's going to be one of them kind of games.
Yeah. I already mentioned earlier what OKC could do in terms of just pick and roll coverage from Indiana and how they were leaving open guys in the corner, at the wing at certain moments of the game. I think they could really take advantage, especially the way that Halliburton is hedging, the way that they're trying to hide Halliburton on the pick and roll coverage. I think they could definitely take advantage of that to a certain extent. So that's, to me, is going to be the adjustment for OKC, and I believe ultimately they'll get game 2 just because of that alone. And yeah, that's just how I look at it. I don't think Shea is going to be checking up a bunch of shots in the first quarter. I think it's going to be a lot about what Jalen Williams and Chet does and all the other role players do.
But let me tell you, if that game is within 10 points with 5 minutes left, I'm live betting Pacers money line.
Okay, all right. No, you're right.
Money line.
You're right. You're right, because they've done it so much. I want to transition real quick. I want to show you something. You know, got to talk a little bit about this. So you and me, we love the game. We're gonna watch the game regardless. But there's still the reality of the situation and the ratings thing where it wasn't the greatest for the NBA. 8.91 million viewers, which is the lowest and least watched finals opener since it says Nielsen was tracking it, which was in 1988. So and it's excluded COVID, which was 2020 and 2021 series, and those series were pretty low. So minus the COVID time, this is the lowest. So I have a lot to say about this. It has nothing to do with the product on the court, but the media being the biggest culprit of why the NBA ratings have gone down. When you look at Fox Sports 1, when you look at ESPN, when you look at TNT, how they have single-handedly shitted on the game that they're covering, I think that has a lot to do with the ratings problem. People want to point to foul baiting and too many 3-point shots. I think a lot of the narrative has to do with who is covering the sport, what they're saying. For crying out loud, Doris Burke was on live TV saying Shea Gilgeous is a free throw merchant. Like, on live TV, these are Twitter narratives, and she brought it on television. This is the stuff that really just
turns people
as casuals turning off the game and not wanting to watch it. So what is your thoughts on the low ratings for game 1?
Oh man, I got a plethora of things. All right, so first, to piggyback off your point about the media, yes, they do play a major role in this, I guess, like, toxic narrative around the players. And how, here's the thing, I saw a TikTok the other day explaining why the NBA will probably never be on the level of popularity and scale as a soccer, or you call football, in the NFL. And it's because in these sports, they build up these players and almost make them to, like, put them on a legendary or mythical level, while the NBA does their hardest. NBA media does their hardest to knock these players down a peg, try to get them on a level where the fans can see them nearly as equal. These are NBA athletes, professional, best players in the freaking world. There's no way that the fans should be as comfortable with disrespecting them the way they do and acting like they could go out there and do whatever they do. Like, you look at the presentation of the game. I think this really is a big point as well, point of contention. I'm gonna ask you this first. Did that game feel like a finals game? Like,
Absolutely
if you just turned
not.
on TV, would you know that this was the NBA finals?
No, absolutely not. Because there was no finals logo. There was no there was nothing there.
No finals logos. A bunch of YouTube TV. We didn't even get to see the intros pregame. They didn't build up. It was no monologue from the commentators or nothing. Building up how significant of a moment this. This is the biggest accomplished, biggest stage in the sport, and it felt like a Tuesday game on ESPN.
Yeah, it did.
And you mean to tell me they say, oh, we're not gonna put the big finals trophy on the court because players said it was slippery, but you can
Oh,
paint
let
a
me show
floor
you.
for
Hold
every
on.
30 teams for the in season tournament, but the last games in the series, like last games of the season, you can't paint a finals court for the 2 participants. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm talking about. The priorities is messed up. The priorities messed up from the league, and it's just ridiculous. Look how much, like, yo, this is such iconic stuff right here. We haven't had this type of atmosphere in the field in forever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the NBA part. The priorities messed up from the networks. I pray, and I'm praying NBC restores the feeling. They said they're gonna bring back the player intros pregame. Thank you, and hopefully they somehow find a way to get some type of insignia of the finals on the court or something, because the game has been lacking presentation for a very long time. Ever since ESPN and TNT became the main 2 channels for networks for basketball, the presentation has gone down drastically, and it is bad for the sport. Because if a casual, you ain't watched basketball for all this year, you turn the game on, you think it was just a regular game. You wouldn't think it was the NBA Finals. It's just
Yes.
like, it's ridiculous.
Unfortunately, I think ESPN
They're going to
owns the
remain the
rights
finals.
for the NBA Finals, which sucks because, as we've seen for the past 5 years, it has drastically gone down. Getting rid of Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson has stunted the coverage. But ultimately, it's not even just that; it's the presentation, like you mentioned. But I don't think that's the biggest. I don't think that's the number one reason why. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to build up the game. You notice that stuff when you're watching the game. It's the build up to the game, and I think ultimately that comes down to how you cover these teams throughout the entire season. Because yeah, we see the Knicks versus Pacers series, we see Thunder versus Nuggets, we see Thunder versus Timberwolves, but throughout the season, it's the casual fans. Do they know these teams? Do they care about these teams? Will they watch these teams? You know what this series is in football? In a football analogy, this is the Rams versus the Bengals. Pretty much. Rams and Bengals, both really good teams, both teams that have explosive offenses, both teams that have players that have done really well during that year. Cooper Kupp, he was an amazing that year. I think he won the Triple Crown, right? He had the
Yeah,
most yards, most
the
touchdowns,
the
most
year
receptions.
they won the Super Bowl 21, I believe.
21, yeah. And then Matthew Stafford, an amazing player as well. Obviously, top 6 QB in the league that year. I think he may have top 3 in passing yards that year. I think he was top 5 in touchdowns. He had an amazing season, and they won the Super Bowl. And then obviously you had Bengals, you had Joe Burrow. He had a phenomenal season. Nobody thought they were going to make the Super Bowl. Jamar Chase, yada yada yada. Same with Indiana Pacers. So that's the comparison I have. But even though they didn't have Patrick Mahomes, they didn't have Tom Brady, they didn't have Aaron Rodgers, they still did good. People were still excited. It was celebrated. The coverage was great because they built up these teams throughout the season. And with the NBA, a lot of times they focus on 4 or 5 teams, and everybody else gets pushed to the side. And you can't do that because when the NBA finals come about, and you have the teams that weren't covered a lot throughout the season, people aren't going to care because you didn't talk about them that much.
True.
I saw a clip where JJ Redick was talking about the Indiana Pacers and how they're not being talked about a whole lot, but they're a great team. This was like months ago during the regular season after the Lakers faced the Pacers. They effectively came out of nowhere because not a lot of people were talking about them. Not a lot of NBA analysts were talking about them. The only people that were talking about them were the experts. But guess what? They're not on the nationally acclaimed, the national TV shows like a Tim Legler. Tim Legler, if you put Tim Legler on First Take, on Get Up a lot more, you would get a lot more coverage on Indiana. But because he's not on these shows, he's not invited to these shows a lot, you're not going to hear a lot of coverage about Indiana because he was talking about Indiana. I remember I was listening to the NBA radio, and I think it was a Saturday, and this group of guys they do NBA radio invited Tim Legler on there. I think it was around February or March, and he mentioned the Indiana Pacers. He was like, "Don't sleep on the Indiana Pacers. Indiana Pacers are a really, really good team, and nobody wants to face the Indiana Pacers." But when you look at the Get Up, when you look at First Take, when you look at Fox Sports 1, all these shows, they weren't talking about Indiana at all until
Nope.
it was too late. So this is a problem. This is a problem. It's not just about, the NBA Finals is here and we got to talk about these teams. It's about what are you doing during the regular season to build up these teams? And that has really hurt the overall product. That has really hurt the ratings for the NBA because these casual fans don't care. They don't care about these teams because they never talk about them. And that's why the
And when
ratings
they
are where they
do,
are.
it's in the negative context. I ain't heard a peep about the Pacers all year until that list about who the players voted as the most overrated in the league, and Tyrese Halliburton was on it. But before then, it was crickets.
So look at this. So somebody like this, Jason McIntyre. I'm not excited that I'm not that excited for these NBA finals. I like superstars in the NBA finals, and we don't really have that. I'm gonna bash Adam Silver here. You're the reason we got this.
Like
take like this is why NBA ratings is going down because people like him that are fortunate to have a platform, a big enough platform, are the wrong people to be on those platforms giving their opinion on a game like the NBA. There should be people that are experts that actually love the game, that actually are passionate about the game, giving their opinions on the sport. Not somebody like Jason McIntyre who claims he's a diehard basketball fan, when in reality he's a casual who is doing lazy reporting, wants to do lazy reporting on the game, which is like the same old lazy narratives about LeBron's legacy, Steph's legacy. That's why a lot of these media people are praying that Steph or LeBron get into the NBA Finals because they don't have to do a whole lot of research. They don't have to do a whole lot of analysis on the teams because they could just lean on the same old narratives that we've been talking about for years on years. He is part of the problem. Nick Wright as well is part of the problem because he also bashed the NBA Finals matchup. These are the people on national television programs. Why am I seeing the Morris twins on Get Up and First Take after an amazing game, an amazing finish? I don't want to see the Morris twins. I don't care that they're former players. One is currently playing in the game. I don't care. They don't talk about the game in a way that is going to effectively help market it. Instead, they sound like casuals talking about the game.
I think this influx of players getting into the media space is going to backfire tremendously because they don't have an ounce of journalism in their bone. They don't know how to build up anything. They just know how to speak matter of factly about stuff just because they say, "Oh, I played in the league, so I get to say whatever." I'm like, you sound crazy. Like like with Gilbert Arena. I know that's his self-owned media, but still, he's still media. Gilbert Arena said about Karl Anthony Towns, no, like we need to start putting real journalists back in these positions. But the NBA has successfully, the NBA media has successfully transformed the casual mind to saying, well, if you ain't played a sport, then you can't talk about it. Like, I don't, it's ridiculous.
I think for me, I like former players being on these platforms if they're experts at communicating. So Ryan Clark, for example, I think he got a degree at communications. So he understands how to communicate his point in a way that'll come out insightful and just how you're supposed to when you're on these television platforms. A lot of these former players don't have that learning experience. They don't have that degree of knowledge like a Ryan Clark. So I think with these networks, yes, obviously former players they played,
You know what
but
else it is?
I think they need some. I think they need to have more requirements in order to come on these networks. In my opinion,
You know what else it is?
what is it?
None of these players, these former players that get on these ESPNs, they aren't willing to teach. They aren't
No,
willing
they
to
aren't.
teach
No.
the game to the audience. At least on NFL Live, Dan Orlovsky, terrible takes aside, he will at least try to teach you something, right? He'll teach you what coverages you as a quarterback, what coverages you may be looking at, all that film breakdowns. Ryan Clark do the same thing. Swagoo, they will at least try to teach the audience the game. They don't do any of that in the NBA.
Nope. Nope.
And
They
you would
don't.
think a platform like Inside the NBA would try to like pioneer or be the forefront in that department, and they don't. They don't
Nope.
even. It's like they don't even watch the games.
It's entertainment television. That is
Yeah,
not an insightful. No, it's not. The only guy that tries is Kenny, and he's fallen off in that department in recent years. But yeah, man. If I'm like after game one, I don't want to see the Morse twins. I want to see Jay Williams. I want to see Tim Legler. Like those are the two people you're supposed to bring in. Those two people because they're the ones that actually break down the game, tell you what exactly happened, different coverages. This is the problem. This is the problem that's
and this
existing
is
and
why,
why the NBA ratings is going up.
and this is why, fan made podcast and platform is blowing these national TV as far as content wise. They're blowing them out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
because
why
they're
the
actually
local radio is better if you want to actually learn about the game. Local, like it's ridiculous. I don't understand.
and even to a certain extent, like radio on Sirius XM, like for instance, NBA radio, they have guys Brian Scalabrine or former players that actually talk about the game and not just bring up like these old narratives, like they actually break down the game. And I love that. And then they have journalists that actually bring up some good points as well. When you look at the national media, it's just not the case anymore when it comes to NBA. When you watch ESPN, it's night and day the coverage of football and then the coverage of the NBA. Like it's just night and day the difference. There's more detail when it comes to football, while with NBA, it seems like a lot more lazy coverage, reporting, and that's just unfortunate. And
And
that's
you
why the
know what?
ratings are
And
down.
you know what I also think?
What? What's up?
I believe that I can't confirm nor deny this. I believe the NFL is much stricter on how you can cover their game. You get these media rights, you get this license to play, I'll get fine. But you're gonna talk about the game in the manner that's gonna uplift it and not diminish the product.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're gonna have your knuckleheads that's gonna say off the wall stuff every now and then, but it's like it's a few of them, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's widespread in the NBA. The NBA needs to be like, listen, we're not allowing certain stuff to be talked about on our game like this. I ain't saying censorship, but you gotta give them encouragement to like talk about the game in a positive light because it's ridiculous. Always some drama, negativity on the forefront of these national media channels and platforms every time. Like they was
Yeah.
talking about like Dorsberg bringing up the ref bait and stuff. Like, come on, why are
Yeah.
we
Falcon.
parroting NBA Twitter garbage on national television in the middle of a freaking conference finals? Like
Right.
let's
Right.
cut it out. Foul merchant. That should have come out of any commentator's mouth.
Right, and she's supposed to be insightful. I will say this:
And
Adam
that's why her
Silver
job is
has,
in danger next year.
yeah, Adam Silver has come out and addressed a lot of that stuff. He has condemned a lot of the chatter involving NBA coverage. He said is a lot of times he'll hear some things and he just doesn't like it at all. And he's talked about how like he doesn't like. He said he understands like the frustration, but he ultimately can't control necessarily what they're saying. But I do think Adam Silver has to at least let these people know, like Stephen A, First Take, all these people know, like, hey, can you like be more insightful in your coverage in a lot of your takes and stop, using these lazy old narratives. I think if he was more just demanding of better coverage from these platforms, I believe they would do their job better. And ultimately, with Adam Silver, we have to blame him as well at this. He's at fault for this as well because Rob Manfred, I think he's the
MLB owner,
commissioner of the MLB. He
terrible.
went out of his way and he said, "Nah, ESPN, you don't deserve the rights for the MLB." And he went to a completely different network. Salute to him because ESPN didn't do a great job in covering the MLB.
Nope.
So I think with Adam Silver, it's unfortunate because they already signed a deal, and ESPN under Disney, they're gonna have the most money. But I guess it's gonna be a while. But whenever they have the next bargaining for networks for coverage, he has to figure out a way to demand better coverage for his sport. And if that network doesn't agree with anything that he says that he wants, then go to a different network. I think that should be on the table because these networks, ESPN, finally we got rid of TNT, but ESPN has gotten away with so much foolishness over the years. And now it's the time for Adam Silver to put his foot down and effectively say, you can't do this anymore. You can't exploit us anymore. So it's up to Adam Silver. He needs to be more demanding.
I feel like, honestly, if I'm Adam Silver, I'm handpicking the commentary team. I'm gonna be honest. Like, you're not about to put.
He has that control.
I feel like
that's the problem. It's on the networks. It's on the networks for them to pick.
The question is Iron Eagle on ESPN?
Nah, I think he's on. I think he's on NBC. I think he might be on NBC. Like the NBC, I believe is going to be great. I think NBC is going to be great.
NBC is going to. I think it's going to be fine.
The problem is that ESPN owns the rights for the NBA Finals, and that's going to hurt so much. That just it hurts. It's going to hurt no matter what. Like even though NBC is coming in, they'll do their thing. I think they'll have NBA All-Star. ESPN still owns the rights for NBA Finals, and that is what's hurting them.
Shoot, I put Tim Legler on the main commentary team.
People been saying that. People been saying.
No way, Tim Legler on there. On the alternate broadcast. That's crazy. He needs to be on the main broadcast. That commentary team, game one, not it.
I agree. I think
they made Mike Breen look washed. I'm like, oh Lord.
You know who I would have as the commentators? I would have obviously Mike Breen got to stay. He's the GOAT. Yeah. I would have Stan Van Gundy and Tim Legler. That would be my group.
That's solid.
I would hire Stan Van Gundy. Obviously, his brother Jeff, he got released. But I would figure out a way to get Stan up in there because he's a phenomenal commentator. He's a phenomenal commentator on TNT. So you have your former coach, you have your former player, both of them very insightful, both of them not about narratives. And I would run that team. I think they would be great. He was great with Kevin Harlan in certain stints as well. So I like that group. That's just me.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what ESPN is going to do. But ultimately, they got to do a lot better because it has been garbage. Let's transition because I don't want to talk too much about the Rays anymore. I know people probably get tired of it. I want to talk about what happened days ago. The firing of Tom Thibodeau. I think this was on Tuesday. I remember I talked about this I think it was at the beginning of the playoffs. I thought Tom Thibodeau, his time was coming to an end by I don't know if it was the first round or second round, but they were able to beat Boston, and I was like, damn. Tom Thibodeau, I think I apologized and everything. But when we get to the conference finals against the Pacers, they won 2 games against the Pacers. But we have to be honest. All the people that are like, how could the Knicks do this? How could they fire Tom Thibodeau? I agree with a lot of folks that are firing for the firing of Tom Thibodeau and their takes of people that believe the Knicks are wrong for firing Tom Thibodeau weren't watching Knicks games.
Nope.
Because it's clear as day, they were not going to win a championship with Tom Thibodeau as the head coach. Because Tom Thibodeau is limited in what he can do as a coach. Short rotations, lacks any sort of feel for offense. You could tell just watching the Indiana Pacers series, the Celtics series, the Detroit series. For crying out loud, the entire season. So that to me is my biggest takeaway in why they fired Tom Thibodeau. They said, okay, here's the ceiling. Okay. That's the ceiling. That's the best he can do. But we're chasing a championship. When you make the trade for Mikal Bridges, when you make the trade for Karl-Anthony Towns, when you make the trade for OG Anunoby, and you give these guys new contracts, you're trying to win a championship. This is not some, oh, we're just great to be in the conference finals. You're trying to win a championship. So when you believe that
you give up all that draft
capital
for Mikal Bridges and then you trade for Karl-Anthony Towns, you sign OG Anunoby to a long-term deal and all that stuff. So yeah, they was going for it.
Right. So you're banking on this notion that it's win a championship or bust. If Tom Thibodeau doesn't have that ability to put you on a championship level, then you have to change coaches. That's just the reality of the situation. And for people to think otherwise, like Mike Greenberg or I forgot who else. I think it was Emmanuel Acho. Like these guys, like they're casuals.
I'm
like
sick and tired of Emmanuel Acho giving unsolicited opinions on stuff. Nobody be asking him a punk thing, and
he's like Ja Rule.
Yeah,
he's like Ja Rule of
who cares what
sports.
Emmanuel Acho has to say at a time like this? Is ridiculous.
Right. So my thing, like, you're not going to win big with Tom Thibodeau at this stage. He's a dinosaur. He can only get you so far with his philosophy, and he's stuck up in his ways. This is the new NBA. Congratulations, you made the conference finals.
I
But
wish
that's
I had that Jeff T clip on deck talking about how he don't coach. He just says, "Dang."
Right. But just give me what is your thoughts on the firing and some of the pushback as well?
Listen, I'm not a huge fan of Tom Thibodeau. I mean, yeah, he's not a trash coach or anything like that. Obviously, he gets his teams, he gets his guys ready to play. The Knicks did make the conference finals, but at the end of the day, when the chips was on the table, he got outcoached. That's point blank period. Like, you get outcoached, and you playing like 7 guys against one of the deepest teams in the league, and they that run all game, and you only going to play 7-man rotation. Your players are gassed by the time it's the most important part of the game, which is crunch time. Your players are gassed. You aren't going deep into the rotation. You aren't playing extra guys. You aren't you're not creating offensive sets. What are you doing?
Right.
Like, you just it's playground basketball. Jalen Brunson's dribbling the air off the ball for 18 seconds, and they're trying to make something happen at the last. No, that's not how you run an offense. Like, that's coaching. At the end, that's coaching. You can't just say go out there and play, guys. No, there needs to be a system in place. There needs to be established hierarchies. This is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do. On any given game with the Knicks, it just felt like whoever got the high hand, we just gonna ride. Like, no. There was no clear hierarchy set. It was nothing. Like, there was no identity on that offense. It was Jalen Brunson or bust. And the occasional cat heater. Like, come on, that wasn't a way to run no defense. Then the players was having issues in the locker room. They said Cat wasn't giving effort and blah. He was missing assignments. Coach, where you at? Why you ain't? Where you at? Where's the coaching going on? And then it was just like, man, and it was that one video in the huddle where I think OG and Cat was kind of like going
Yeah.
back and forth, and Tom Thibodeau just like this.
Right.
Hello, you're the head coach. Let's get involved here. Get your guys ready to get you. Timeouts ain't 5 minutes. You get your guys ready to go. Like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I wasn't shocked at all they got rid of Tom Thibodeau. I wasn't shocked at all because I've been knew the jig was up on that man. I've been knew.
I think I was shocked at the fact that the Knicks were willing to let go of a coach. That just lets me know the Knicks are that the culture has changed. The way that they think has changed. Like they're not just satisfied with making the conference finals. Because 10 years ago, the Melo years, they would have kept the coach. Remember, they had couple of coaches.
They had
Mike Woodson.
Yeah,
like they kept Mike Woodson for a long time, but you know, like somebody like that, they would have kept for a long time. Tom Thibodeau, they would have kept for a long time. But now, I think the new leadership that is at the top, they're looking at it like, no, we can't be satisfied. So I was shocked at that.
X's and O's guy.
Yeah, so I'm hearing Johnny Bryant. He's the assistant coach for the Cavs. He used to be the assistant coach for the Knicks as well. He was actually a part of Tom Thibodeau's coaching staff, and he's very X's and O's. He's very well detailed. He's about screening, off ball movement. I think with
I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah, what's up?
If I'm the Knicks org, I'm dialing up. Hello, Dan. How much you want?
No coach, no college coach, no
college coach.
No college coach. Get an assistant coach. Get the guy from the Cleveland. He knows what to do. The thing is the offense. The offense was pathetic. It was a lot of creating something out of nothing. No 2-man action with Towns and Jalen Brunson. That was one of the things that people were talking about a lot, is the fact that the offense would flow a lot differently when Brunson was on the bench and it was just Cat. They need to figure out a way to find a coach that can effectively create an offense that Brunson, if Cat is going to remain with the team, that Brunson and Cat can run a 2-man action via pick and roll, via whatever, that's efficient enough. Because it was so many times where it's like your turn, my turn, Cat trying to post up but can't. It was just the spacing. It was a lot of spacing issues, a lot of Mikal Bridges
spinning around. I'm like, okay,
bro, a lot of Mikal Bridges shooting just off balance threes, bricking them all the time, thinking he's Kyle Korver or Klay Thompson. It was a lot of ill-advised shots. Yes. And that was a problem during the Indiana series. They need to find a coach that really understands offense, because that was a glaring weakness for them against Indiana. And a lot of times against Detroit, sometimes against Boston to a certain extent. That's why they were down a lot of deficits, but ultimately came back because Boston, they had their deficiencies as well. They just got to find somebody that understands offense. And I think Johnny Bryant could be that guy.
I hope they don't go like some lame duck like
Mike Malone.
So
no, I don't think they're going Mike Malone. Yeah. I've heard reports where they're not going to go Mike Malone.
Okay, good.
Because he's just another Tom Thibodeau, just probably a better motivational speaker. That's just what it is. But because if you remember Mike Malone, that offense in Denver, that's not Mike Malone.
Yeah, it was.
That's the current coach right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man. If they're going to get a coach, they have to get an offensive-minded guy that understands concepts, that has a feel for offense as well, and the offense will be his identity, what he wants, and not somebody else's identity. That is very apparent. That's very important. And do you think that the Knicks need to make some trades also? Because I think it wasn't just coaching; it was also personnel, in my opinion. So, do you think the Knicks need to make a trade or two?
Yes. Knicks fans might not like it, but I don't care. I'm seeing what I can get for Josh Hart at this point because, yes, he does a lot of dirty work, but specialists don't play in the playoffs. And rebounds is cool at 6'4", 6'5", however tall you is, and hustle is all that. We can get 2-3 guys that can do that and contributes in the playoffs on the offensive end. So I'm seeing what I get for Josh Hart. Honestly, I know you just traded for Mikal Bridges, but
no doubt, especially once that new contract as well.
Yeah. So I'm seeing what if I could rebuild some of the stuff we lost with that Mikal Bridges deal. So I'm shopping him out there too.
Mm-hmm. I think with
Honestly,
Cat,
the only untouchables in my opinion is Jalen Brunson.
Yeah,
if I get a good offer for anybody, I'm listening to it. Like I'm not gonna say, oh, this player's completely opposite. Maybe Cat, but even still, like
I think I'm trying to get Cat out of there
Cat.
too, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
you gonna get Cat? You want to get Cat?
I think Cat. The problem with Cat, like his defense is so bad as a center that you can't have two liabilities on your starting lineup. Yeah, they made it to the conference finals, but you can't have two liabilities. In this day and age, it's so much harder to defend that if you have just one liability becomes a weakness, but two guys, that's why you think the Lakers weren't able to. They got their ass whooped by Minnesota because they had Reeves and they had Lucas starting. You can't have Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns because if you remember when Brunson or Cat is on the bench, the defense gets significantly better.
Is better, yeah.
Yeah, so I think you can't have both of those guys in the same starting lineup next year. I think Cat is the guy that you have to move. Kevin Durant has to be the number one dude you have to get. I'm hearing Giannis, but I don't think Giannis solves their problems. He's tremendously talented.
I don't think they got enough to get Giannis. From the draft capital aspect, they don't got enough.
Absolutely not. But even if they were able to get Giannis, let's hypothetically say.
I don't think that would solve all their problems.
No, because
it would literally just be like the Bucks teams back in like 23.
Him and Dame. Yeah. It was just him and Dame.
Yeah, it's just him and Dame still. Yeah,
I think Kevin Durant fits better for what they need. They need a guy that can create off the dribble, that can create his own offense, that can make shots, that can shoot at an efficient level. He's not a defensive liability, although he's older. He's not a defensive liability to the level of Karl-Anthony Towns. I think the question becomes who's going to start at the center position because Mitchell Robinson can't be your starting center.
That is true.
No way, no how. He's too. He's always hurt. He can't shoot. Good defender, but he's not reliable as a starting center. So who would be your starting center?
Like a starting center because teams is like hogging the center. They hogging the centers and guards. So it's going to be kind of difficult to find the start a center that you won't have to pay big money in a year or so on the market right now. But I do think that a Cat and KD trade has some legs because it was a report saying the Suns are looking for like a center in a deal for a KD or something like that. So,
but then there was also another point where they don't want Cat in the deal. I think if they get Kevin Durant, it has to be a 3-team deal.
Yeah,
in my opinion, they're gonna have to find a third team because I think. Listen, Phoenix can say all they want. Oh, we trying to build around Devin Booker. They need to get some draft picks desperately because right now with the trade for Beal and the trade for KD, they don't have a whole lot of draft picks left. So they're going to probably look for some draft picks. And in this scenario, a 3-team trade would work in my opinion, but where would Cat go is the question mark. So if I'm the Knicks, I can't have Cat and Brunson as my go-to guys. It has to be KD and Jalen Brunson or Jalen Brunson and somebody else that's not a defensive liability going into the 2026 season.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and then also Mikal Bridges as well. Like, Mikal Bridges he's a nice player, but I don't want to give Mikal Bridges that extension. So you have to figure out some way with Mikal Bridges. So those two things, Cat and Mikal Bridges, and also the bench. It's going to be very hard to fill out that bench. I don't know how they do it, but they gotta find another guy to put on that bench that can give them some offense.
Yeah, big time.
So those are the question marks. Those are the question marks. They made it to the conference finals.
How like the teams that had the deepest teams in the league are the two teams in the finals. Ain't that funny?
And they're under the luxury tax.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they're under the first apron. That's crazy.
Draft and develop.
Most depth under the first apron.
First time I can't even say draft and develop honestly for the Pacers because they traded for most of them dudes.
They did. Yep. But
OKC drafted.
They developed Nembhard. They developed Nembhard. They developed. They're still developing Mathurin, Miles Turner. They developed, but Tyrese Halliburton.
Halliburton
trade. They just made a lot of. They made a lot of great trades. The Halliburton trade, I believe, one of the biggest acquisitions in recent.
I was like, what are the Kings doing?
Because they were looking at it like, well, we already have Fox, Halliburton. Their games when they play one another, like
Fox
their games sort of
collide. And I don't know how long.
I said it. I said it from the jump. It was a bad trade. I said it, but it is what it is. What else we got? I think that'll do it. Yeah, I think that'll do it.
Shout out Coco Gauff. She won the French Open.
Shout out to her.
Tennis player in the world, Sabalenka, bringing that title back to the people.
Yeah. Well, let me see. Let me look at the NBA schedule real quick.
Is it every other day?
No, it's not every other day. It's like spread out by a lot.
So it's like they'll play today and probably won't play again until what, Tuesday?
So we're looking at it right now. Sunday is the next game. Wednesday is game 3. No, they play tomorrow.
Oh.
Sunday is game 2. Wednesday's game 3. Game 4 is Friday, and game 5 is Monday.
This is interesting. I know they got to like correlate with the NHL and the Stanley Cup because they're in the Stanley Cup final. So I know this they don't want to like compete for viewership, but it's very interesting.
It's very spread out. A lot of people have been complaining about this, but you got to remember, like, they're like, man, why we have to wait 4 days for the first game? Well, the NFL, the Super Bowl is like 2 weeks. You have to wait 2 weeks for the Super Bowl. So what's the difference? I just don't see what's to complain about. I think people are just.
And you don't want these people fresh. I mean, dang.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I like it better that it's spread out. I used to not like that when I didn't have anything to watch or do, but now I do. So I like it better this way. So we'll see next Saturday after Game 4 what transpires. Hopefully it's a tied series. I would love for this to go to 7 games. I just want a competitive series.
That's going to be a movie.
I just want a competitive series. Like, that's all I care about.
I ain't going to lie. I do want a competitive series.
If this goes to I picked OKC to win in 6. So I think Indiana will get a couple games off of them. But if this goes to 6 or 7, I'm happy. And they're all competitive, I'm happy. So, all right, man. That'll do it on this episode of the Courtside Beat Podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell for all the socials. And we will see you all on the next episode of the Courtside Beat Podcast. Thank you all for watching, and peace.
Salute.
All right.